Walt Disney World might be bigger, it might have more hotels, and for sure it does have 4 theme parks, but bigger doesn't always mean better. And today I'm going to be sharing 5 reasons why I might actually prefer Disneyland in California. Let's talk about it. Hello my Disney lovers and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm very excited because I'm talking obviously all things Disney, but in particular I'm talking about Disneyland, which is so exciting because I went on my first ever Disneyland trip October 2024 and I have to say I had the most amazing trip ever. So if you haven't already, go and check out my Disneyland California series because honestly it was my first impressions and I just loved it so much. And since I come back from that trip, I've just found it difficult to stop talking about California. So on this channel, I'm going to be sharing lots and lots of things about Disneyland California. But one thing that shocked me the most was just how different California was to Florida. I love going to Florida so much. I love being at Walt Disney World. I love just being there. It's just the best, isn't it? But going to California was like a brand new experience to me. So today I'm going to be sharing the 5 reasons why I think I might prefer Disneyland California over Walt Disney World. And it's so hard for me to say this because I just thought nothing would beat Walt Disney World, but California is just, it's done something to me. If you are new around here and you'll see my face for the first time, then a big hello from me. My name is Sam and I post lots of Disney, theatre, travel and lifestyle content. So if you like that kind of thing, then definitely go and hit the subscribe button because it really would mean the world to me. And also go and check out my Instagram, Journeys with Sam, because I post lots of Disney exclusive content over there. So definitely go and check that out. But here we go, let's get into it and talk all things Disneyland. First thing I actually do prefer about Disneyland over Walt Disney World is, I'd say, like the walkability and just the easiness of it in comparison to Walt Disney World. You can literally leave Disneyland Park and be in Disney's California Adventure in less than a minute. It is so close together. You haven't got to go and rely on buses and ferries and monorails and Skyliners and all that kind of thing because everything is just so close. Everything's walking distance, which just makes it so perfect. And actually, it just reduces the stress of your holiday so much because, you know, if you want to go and park hop and you want to go, for example, and if you're in Disneyland Park and you really want to just get on an Incredicoaster really quickly, you can just kind of like dash between both parks and it's just so easy not having to go and rely on that Disney transportation that Walt Disney World offers. Now obviously at Walt Disney World it is so much bigger, it can take sometimes between 30 to 60 minutes just to park hop to a different park, and obviously that does go and just increase your stress levels and all that kind of thing. But Walt Disney World is set up so well, and in a way I do love that about Walt Disney World. I do love the fact that, you know, I can be in Magic Kingdom and then literally in half an hour I'll be at Animal Kingdom. It's a whole different world, a whole different experience. I do really love that. But nothing is better than just being at Disneyland and just being able to hop between both parks, get on what you want, and there's just like no stress to it whatsoever because literally, like I said, less than a minute and you're in the other park, or you can be at Downtown Disney and it's just like the most perfect thing ever. Another thing to note is the Disneyland hotels are also all walking distance, which is great, but also there are so many great partner hotels off-site at Disneyland, but everything is walking distance. Now I went and stayed at the Hyatt Regency Orange County. Now that was probably about a 30 to 40 minute walk, depending on how quick you walk, to Disneyland. But it is still walking distance. It's a nice straight road. You didn't have to go down any like dodgy alleyways or anything like that. It felt really safe walking from there to Disneyland, which I absolutely loved. But also these hotels do sometimes offer like shuttle bus services to Disneyland. I know at the Hyatt Regency they did, and that was literally perfection. I loved that. That also means that you get to go and eat at some like chain restaurants in Anaheim, and you can literally just walk from Disneyland to them. We've done this so many times on our trip, whether it was going to Blaze Pizza, Cheesecake Factory, Denny's, IHOP. That was literally all pretty much opposite Disneyland. So it's not like at Orlando where you have to go and, you know, get an Uber or a Lyft or whatever to go to one of these like big restaurants. You didn't have to go and do that. You literally go and walk from Disneyland to some of your favourite restaurants and eat outside of Disney, which is great. Now, the second thing that I absolutely love about Disneyland in California has to be the classic attractions and the unique rides. And Disneyland is literally full of that. There is so much nostalgia when it comes to Disneyland, and I just love being there so much because of that. So when it comes to the rides, Disneyland has some really classic attractions. Think Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, the Matterhorn bobsleds, and also Storybook Land canal boats. All of them attractions are honestly just so stunning. They're so nostalgic. They are literally like classic Disneyland attractions, and when you go onto them, you just feel this like nostalgia feeling, and that's what makes Disneyland so special. I remember like growing up and like looking on Google and seeing pictures of Disneyland and seeing the Matterhorn, and I remember like when I first went to Walt Disney World, and this was just me being a bit naive, but thinking like, oh, I can't wait to go into the Matterhorn. Like the Matterhorn is such a big Disney attraction. So when I went to Disneyland and just walking down Main Street and seeing the Matterhorn, you know, in the right hand corner, honestly, it was just perfection. I just love going onto that attraction so much. So yeah, I love just being able to go to Disney and getting on them real good classic attractions. Now, even the attractions which are at Disneyland and Walt Disney World, the Disneyland rides just seem to have the edge, and I'm talking about things like Pirates of the Caribbean. Pirates of the Caribbean at Disneyland, hands down, is the best one that I have ever been on. It's literally insane. It goes on for so long. I love like the extended scenes that are in there. It's just so good to go on to that Pirates of the Caribbean, and I just feel like it's the ultimate Pirates of the Caribbean, really, because all the other ones have like snippets of the main Disneyland one. It has the highlights from the Disneyland one, but nothing's better than going on Pirates. And literally, I timed the ride, and it pretty much took 20 minutes from start to finish, and it was just so immersive. 20 minutes of that pirate smell, you just can't go wrong, can you? So it was literally amazing, and that's what I love about the Disneyland attractions. And also, like in terms of them being like unique attractions, they actually go and do like a re-theme overhaul thing of some attractions. So when I went to Disneyland, they actually went and changed the Haunted Mansion into a Nightmare Before Christmas overlay, and literally it was so good going on to that. I have seen that in so many vlogs, but actually seeing it through my own eyes was just so special, and I love that they kind of add these overlays. Another overlay that they do, but I just never got the opportunity to go and see it because it was closed for refurbishment. I think they was actually changing it to the overlay, is It's a Small World. They go and do like a holiday overlay for it for Christmas, and it just looks really spectacular when you go and look at it. So yeah, I just love that Disneyland add them little special magical touches to their rides and attractions. It's not the same all year round. They do go and put little updates in that makes it so magical. And something that I find so strange about Disneyland is that obviously a lot of their rides and attractions, they are a lot older. They're considerably older than the ones at Walt Disney World, but you would never even be able to tell. Like things like Autopia, it just is so much better than Tomorrowland Speedway. Even though that was like an opening day attraction, it just feels smooth. It feels great when you're on there. I love the layout of that attraction in comparison to Tomorrowland Speedway. So yeah, even though these attractions are older, they're definitely more nostalgic in a lot of ways, and they just feel a lot more special. Now, keeping with the theme of rides and attractions at Disneyland, the third thing which I actually do prefer about Disneyland is some of their rides are by far superior to the ones at Walt Disney World. Now, for example, when we go and compare Indiana Jones Adventure to Dinosaur at Animal Kingdom, they're literally just two different levels of rides. I've always loved Dinosaur. I love just like that whole ride system. I love the whole type of ride that it is. But when I went on to Indiana Jones Adventure, that literally blew me away. It was honestly insane. I loved going through it. I loved it. It was so jolty. It was so bumpy. I loved the animatronics. I loved the fire effects. It was probably my favourite attraction that I'd done at Disneyland, full stop. It was honestly just amazing. I loved going on there. The theme and the speed and the story, everything was just so thrilling, and I just really loved that. And actually that does really make me excited for the re-theme that Dinosaur is going to be having at Animal Kingdom. It's been confirmed now that Dinosaur is going to be staying open this year, but 2026 is going to start its re-theme into its Indiana Jones attraction, which I know they're not going to be complete replicas of each other, but I just think, you know, Animal Kingdom is going to be so good with that attraction. Like imagine it, like you've got Pandora and then you've got Indiana Jones, and if it's anything like that attraction, it's going to be probably one of the best attractions at Animal Kingdom. Like I honestly was so amazed when I went on to Indiana Jones Adventure. Another ride that is 100% better is Space Mountain at Disneyland. I actually hate the one in Florida. I don't know why it is. I did it on my first trip, but I don't know, as I've got older, I just feel like it's so uncomfortable. I always get off that ride and I'm just like, never again. I just don't like it. So it was so good to go onto a Space Mountain that was actually smooth. And considering again, it's a really old attraction, really. I think it's actually only like 2 years newer than the one in Walt Disney World. So Walt Disney World got their Space Mountain first, and then 2 years after, Disneyland got their Space Mountain. But honestly, I just prefer it. The trains are so much easier to get into. It's in 2s rather than in 1s, and it's just honestly so much better than the one at Walt Disney World. So yeah, sorry Walt Disney World, but Space Mountain in California definitely wins the contest. But I do have to say, Paris is number 1. Paris Hyperspace Mountain, the best. I just wish they got rid of the hyperspace theme, but that ride is so good, so good. I also just want to mention as well that Big Thunder Mountain over in California, I don't think the rides were massively different, like compared to Walt Disney World. It was pretty much the same sort of ride. I didn't notice any major differences, but the theming is definitely more, I would say, in California. And that final lift hill, like the third lift hill that you go up in Big Thunder Mountain, you have the big like dynamite explosion scene, which is honestly so good. And it's what they have over in Paris too. Walt Disney World still hasn't got it, but I'm really hoping with this big kind of like refurbishment that Walt Disney World is having of Big Thunder Mountain, we're finally going to go and see this scene. I really hope. We've not heard anything yet, but it would be so good if we do get that big dynamite explosion scene, because that is definitely what is missing from Walt Disney World. Now, the fourth thing that I definitely want to go and mention about what I prefer about Disneyland has to be the character meets. Now, I'm still not over how character meets work at Disneyland. Honestly, it just blows my mind. But I'm somebody who's obviously just been so like cultured into what it's like at Disneyland Paris and at Walt Disney World, where traditionally you just have to go and get into really long lines to go and meet characters. So I know in the past I've waited definitely like 80-90 minutes to go and meet some of the main characters. Sometimes over like at Disneyland Paris, you see like the Princess Pavilion has got like a 3-hour queue, and it was just amazing to see that at Disneyland that just doesn't really happen. Or if you do wait for a character, you're only waiting for like a really short time. We had moments when we just saw characters walking around. So by the carousel, we saw like Maleficent, we saw Aurora, and they was literally just walking around. There was no like character host to go and like help them or anything. They was literally just walking around, interacting with guests, and I've just never seen anything quite like it. And then the best experience actually was we was in a shop in Disney's California Adventure, and literally through the window we saw Mickey walking past, and then we left the shop and we was first in the queue to go and meet Mickey. Like, that is so unheard of. You would never ever be able to go and do that at Walt Disney World, or like it just would never ever happen. So seeing the characters just walking around the park and interacting, it was just so amazing. The only thing I would say is you do have to be brave to kind of like step in and get like their autograph or go and have an interaction or a picture, because sometimes they're just walking so quickly through the crowds, but they will go and stop like 100% for you if you go and like signal them down. It did take me quite a few days to build that confidence. I think it was like on day 3 that I actually stopped Donald to try and get a picture with him. Yeah, just be confident when it comes to that, because they that's why they're there, aren't they? Like, they're there for you to have the most magical time, and they'll definitely stop for a picture. So don't feel like you're being a bit of a nuisance, because you're definitely not. But characters at Disneyland by far are so good. And let's just mention like the interactions. At Walt Disney World, I feel like there's definitely pressure because the queues are just so long that your interaction has to be quite short. Whereas at Disneyland, we just didn't have that. So like, I remember going to meet in Pocahontas, and we literally was chatting for a good like 3-4 minutes. And there was actually like 2-3 people in the queue waiting, but that's like nothing. That's nothing. Like Pocahontas at Animal Kingdom, again, you could be waiting like half an hour, 40 minutes for her normally. So it was just amazing. And if you want to go and see lots and lots of characters, Disneyland is the place to go. Now, the very final thing that I have to go and mention, I've mentioned this so many times, but this is really the big standout for me, is the whole atmosphere of Disneyland and the whole history that goes behind it. That makes it so much better than Walt Disney World. There is nothing quite as good as walking down Main Street and thinking in your head, these are the streets where Walt Disney once did stand. And, you know, everything that you look at Disneyland, you just know that is Walt's vision, and you're actually walking in it, the real original Disneyland, and nothing beats that feeling at all. Everywhere you walk, there is just this like special charm, and the fact that even you get to like walk into the fire station knowing that Walt's office is directly above you, it's just, if you are a Disney nerd, especially a Disney parks nerd, Disneyland is the park you just have to go and visit, because the charm is just out of this world. everywhere you walk, you just have that in your head constantly. And that's why I just love the Disneyland park so much, because it is literally, it just screams Walt Disney wherever you go and walk. Also, a lot more attention to detail I noticed over at Disneyland in comparison to Walt Disney World. So when you go and walk, like for example, between Adventureland and Frontierland, there's almost like this just seamless transition. Like, it just works. They don't seem like complete different lands. You just kind of transition nicely into each of the different lands, and you'll just notice the theming will like subtly change, and then all of a sudden you'll be in Frontierland. So magical everywhere you go and walk. And in terms of like the atmosphere, Disneyland is 100% less crowded than Walt Disney World, 100% hands down. Like, I went and visited in October, and when I was comparing the queues for both Walt Disney World and Disneyland, even though Disneyland did feel busy because like the paths are a lot narrower, like it's a lot, I guess dated, like they didn't realise just how popular it was going to become. The ride queues definitely are not as long. I remember looking, and Mickey Minnie's Runaway Railway being like 70 minutes at Hollywood Studio and being 20 minutes at Disneyland. It felt so nice to go and walk through the parks. You will get on so many rides and attractions in a day because the queues just are not as big. And I think the main reason for that is because the atmosphere is just so nice, and you have a lot of locals that are going to visit in Disneyland rather than tourists. And a lot of them have done these attractions so many times before that they kind of just go to Disneyland. They might even just be going there to get a snack or just to go on like one ride. Like, there wasn't the crowds, and that just made the atmosphere so much nicer. Sometimes when you're at Walt Disney World, you're constantly stressing about, I need to get this and this done. Whereas at Disneyland, we didn't have that stress. Like, because it was our first time, obviously we wanted to tick off a lot. It was just so easy to navigate around the parks, get on lots of rides. Like, it didn't feel like we was waiting around a long time like we do at Walt Disney World, and that's just what makes Disneyland so special. And there we go. They are the 5 reasons why I think that I might actually prefer Disneyland over Walt Disney World. Walt Disney World still does have my heart. I love it. I feel because I went to Walt Disney World first, that's why I just love it so much. But actually, Disneyland, it just makes me want to go back so badly. Like, when I talk about this, I'm so desperate to go back again. I really want to go. But in the comments down below, definitely go and let me know why you might prefer Walt Disney World or Disneyland. I'd love to know which team you're on. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, definitely go and hit the subscribe button and go and follow me over on my Instagram, Journeys with Sam. But thank you so much, and I will see you guys real soon in the next video. Bye, guys.